Hi guys, it's Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're going to take a look at another fixed blade. This is the Harnds Cheetah, a small personal carry knife for, just about a fixed blade of an EDC size, let's call it that, with a leather sheath. If you're interested at all in a knife about this size, stick around. I had this entire video recorded and I was going to edit it during the night when I can't sleep. And so it'd be ready for first thing Friday morning, but I go to edit it in the middle of the night and the audio is just absolutely terrible. The mic just was not working. I've got a different mic plugged into my cell phone now, so I'm re-recording this on Friday morning. So I know it's Fixed Blade Friday. It'll be a little late, but it'll get to you pretty soon. So here we go, the Cheetah. What do we have here? We've got a small knife that has sort of a personal carry kind of characteristic to it. Let's go through the specs and we'll go on from there on what I like and don't like about it. How heavy is this thing? Well, the knife itself is only 2.9 ounces. Not much. Very easy to carry. With the sheath, we're looking at 4 ounces even, which is 112 grams. The knife, 82 grams. You've got a blade that's made out of 8CR14 MOV Chinese steel. 8CR14 seems to be taking over and replacing 8CR13. I'm not sure exactly why, but probably because it's a little bit better in certain ways. Probably the edge retention and ease of sharpening. Those are probably the areas that they like to improve all the time. You've got a hollow grind on a blade that has 2 3/4 inches of cutting edge. That's about 7 centimeters. This hollow grind is about 13 millimeters long from the time the grind starts till the time you get to the cutting edge. That's half an inch, 12, 13 millimeters, something like that. Full Tang blade all the way to the back with a little bit of an exposed pommel that has a lanyard hole in there. Half an inch thick handle on the wood here. That's right around 13 millimeters again. The tang of the blade here is 3 millimeters thick, just over 3 millimeters thick, just over 0.12 inches, 0.12 inches. So it's a decent thickness and weight for its size. They got the proportions very good on this knife. The wood part of the handle here is 3 3/4 inches, 9.5 centimeters. And the entire knife from tip to heel to pommel is 7 1/8 inches, which is 18 centimeters. Nice and small. This is smaller than a lot of folding blades when they're open. And yet I've got a large size hand and my hand fits within that whole wood area. So somebody with an extra large hand might find this a little bit small, but anybody with a smaller hand, small, medium, large hand is going to find this knife relatively comfortable to carry. I think anyways. The cutting edge here, I've had some of my Russian friends ask me again to give them a spec. They like to know how thick the steel is just behind the final grind. And the steel just behind, so just like right where my fingernail is right there, is 0.5 millimeter thick, which is 0.02 inches, which is fairly robust. So it's not a delicate knife. It's a knife that's going to stand up and work for you. It's a knife that feels good. The cutting that I've done with it has been very easy, very comfortable, very natural. The jimping that's on the top of the blade here, where the thumb rests, is quite aggressive, but it's small, so it doesn't actually hurt your thumb, but it gives you very good grip with your thumb. You've got retention. Your thumb touches that stuff and it's hanging on. It's not going to slide off, even if it gets all wet. It's a really decent jimping that way. If you are cutting for a very long time with it, it can feel just a little bit hot because the edges are 90 degrees on those square jimps. The spine back here is just round it off just barely. I haven't tried. I don't think you're going to be able to strike a ferro rod very well with this. It's not its design. It's not its function. You can probably strike a ferro rod back here on the pommel if you needed to, because that edge right there is a bit sharper than on the spine of the blade here. So you'd probably have opportunity to get, something going anyways, if you needed to. The wood handle, I think this is some kind of zebra wood. I'm not sure exactly. It looks good. It looks like there's a flaw right there, but no, that's just part of the characteristic of the wood. Wood just sometimes looks strange in some spots in the way grain works. You've got steel and brass pins. So there's a steel pipe and filled with a brass rod, and that's what they use to pin the knife together. The fit and finish along the spine of the blade especially is very smooth. They took enough time to make that smoothed out really well. And then along the belly of the blade, same kind of thing. They spent all the time they needed to make it make the fit and finish really well in there. And so it's comfortable. There's no little catches on there. Well, there's tiny catches. Like if you really dig carefully with your nail, you can sort of feel a bit of an edge where the wood meets the metal. And that's because wood will shrink and expand over time. I'm in a very dry part of Canada, so the wood here has probably shrunk a tiny bit from when they shipped it. And so that's why you get just a tiny bit of an edge right there. It's just the nature of wood being organic. It moves. The cutting edge with this hollow grind and satin finish does not have a sharpener's choil. And you know me, I like sharpener's choils quite a bit. So that's one little negative here, but it cuts quite well. After all my testing, I've had this knife for, I think, about 3 weeks now. I've done nothing to maintain the edge, just using it. And so you can see there's a couple of spots which caused that little bit of a tear that aren't perfect anymore. But it's 8CR14 MOV. It's not going to last forever. Strop the thing a little bit. I've got my stropping video that I posted this morning just so that I have something posted first thing on Friday morning. You can watch that and figure out how to strop this thing and keep it nice and pristine. The grind lines are not done perfectly either. They're obviously done by hand, but they're done fairly well. Like I said, I can cut with it quite well. There's a lot of blade stock behind the tip of this knife. And so the tip comes up here and it's quite strong. I'll give you a close-up of what that looks like right there. It's a nice strong tip. You can dig into things as long as you're not digging into really hard stuff. You don't abuse your knife, but it's got enough strength to take any regular normal use that you would do with a knife. I really like that an awful lot. Let's try cutting something a little more substantial. I got this big advertisement from a local car dealership here in Alberta. And this is plastic, thick plastic, very much the same as a credit card. Cuts that stuff, no problem at all. It's the gimmick of a credit card. So you can see that. And let's try a little bit of paracord. You know how I like to cut paracord. Why do I keep saying instead of two? Am I just being lazy? I think so. I think I'm just being lazy with my mouth. Here's 4 strands of paracord. Just slice through that like nobody's business. Cuts very, very easily through whatever you want to cut. And just to show you, yep, it's regular 550 paracord. It's a nice knife. I don't have a big negative opinion of 8CR13, 8CR14, the Chinese steels that a lot of people have. There's a lot of the opinion that is based on simple prejudice against China. I'm sorry. I'm just saying it very plainly. That's the way it is. A lot of people just simply hate China, and so they say negative things about their products without really evaluating the product itself. I like to evaluate things based on what it actually is without any politics. And yeah, it's just a budget steel. It's not a super steel. It's not even a mid-grade steel. But For the budget steel that they have, they did a good job. They say it's got a Rockwell hardness between 58 and 59, and that's what it feels like to me through my cutting and through, you know, I touched a little file onto the back of here just sort of to get a feeling for what that steel felt like. I think that it is exactly what they claim it to be, and for an entry-level steel, it's good. It's not a bad steel at all. Let's turn our attention to the pouch for a minute. This is a genuine leather sheath. It's one of those one-piece sheaths, and it's not a super sheath either. You can see how the edge here, somebody was sewing and then they changed the angle there a little bit, and so it's not a nice, smooth, fancy finish like you would get on an expensive knife. But the sheath is made well structurally. It's functional. There's no flaws to it that I can find. The stitching is done well. And it'll easily fit into a 2 1/4 inch blade, a 2 1/4 inch belt or larger, or smaller, I should say, not larger. So the average belt that a guy uses, or a gal uses for that matter, this should fit. And it fits fairly snug with the knife in the pouch. You've got just 2 inches sticking out. So when it's in your pocket, gravity's going to hold it in place. There's a little drain hole down there at the bottom. So if you do get out in the weather and you get water inside there, it'll drain out slowly. Being 8CR14 stainless, you know, it will rust. You just have to take care of it. It's not going to rust easily, but you know, if you do get it all wet, you're going to have to take care of it. Reasonable knife. I like it. The price point here is, I think, right around $26, $27 US. And for that price, I say this thing's a buy. It's a decent knife, comfortable knife, looks good. Sometimes you just want a fixed blade of an EDC size to do certain tasks. Of course, it depends largely on where you live and if the sort of cultural sense in that area allows for this kind of thing to be carried in public or not. If you do live in an area where this would work, I would say go for it. You could easily just wrap some paracord or something and use this as around this hole here, and on your outdoor days, use it as a neck knife that swings around off your neck if you'd like. There's so many different ways to use this thing. You know, there you have it. That's just sort of the quick summary of it. I like this knife. It's a good knife for the price. If you'd like this video, thanks for liking. Hit that like button. Regardless of if you want the knife or not, if you like the video, click like if it's a good review. Share with somebody you think might be interested in this knife. And thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate that an awful lot. If you've got any questions or comments, please put them into the description, under the description below the video. I try to answer every single comment that comes in, and I'll keep doing that for as long as I can as the channel grows. Remember, always cut towards your chum and not your thumb.